The PlayStation 2 horror games were the stuff of nightmares. Even years later, these classic games still have the power to scare us. In this video, we'll be exploring 7 PS2 horror games that still terrify today. From psychological thrillers to gore-filled horror, we've got it all covered. Haunting Ground, a survival horror game released in 2005, is a masterclass in building tension and fear. Developed by Capcom, this game takes place in a foreboding castle where protagonist Fiona Belli must navigate through dark corridors and avoid the clutches of the castle's sinister inhabitants. But what makes Haunting Ground so terrifying, even today? One reason is the game's atmosphere. The castle's eerie environment, complete with creaking doors, flickering candles, and an unsettling soundtrack, creates a sense of unease and vulnerability. The game's use of shadows, lighting and sound design perfectly captures the feeling of being stalked by an unseen predator. Another reason is the game's AI system, which allows enemies to patrol and investigate in a semi-intelligent manner. This means that the game's villains, particularly the imposing debilitators, are unpredictable and deadly, making every encounter feel tense. The game's storytelling and characters also add to the fear factor. Fiona's fragile mental state and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her presence in the castle make for a compelling narrative that's full of twists and turns. The game's themes of isolation, trauma, and the blurring of reality and fantasy are also expertly woven throughout the story. Even today, Haunting Ground remains a terrifying experience due to its expertly crafted atmosphere and gameplay. The game's ability to build tension and create a sense of vulnerability is unmatched, making it a must-play for fans of survival horror. So, if you're looking for a game that will test your nerves and leave you sleeping with the lights on, look no further than Haunting Ground. Forbidden Siren, a survival horror game released in 2003, is a chilling experience that still sends shivers down players' spines. The game takes place in a remote Japanese town, where players must uncover the mysteries behind a mysterious phenomenon that's turned the townspeople into terrifying creatures. But what makes Forbidden Siren so terrifying, even today? The creepy sound effects, eerie visuals, and foreboding environment all combine to create a sense of unease and dread. The game's use of sound is particularly effective, making it feel like you're really there.
Who's there? Huh? Who is it?
The Sightjack ability adds a new level of tension to the game. By seeing through the eyes of other characters, you're forced to experience the game world in a different way. This can make even the most mundane tasks feel tense and frightening. The game's enemies, known as Shuryo, are a major part of its terror. Their twisted appearances and movements are deeply unsettling, and the way they attack is both brutal and terrifying. Every encounter with them is a nail-biting experience. If you're looking for a game that will push you to the edge of your seat, look no further than Forbidden Siren. Its combination of psychological horror and intense action makes for a thrilling experience that will leave you breathless. The Suffering, a survival horror game released in 2004, is a psychological thrill ride that will leave you shaken. The game's use of supernatural elements and multiple personalities creates a sense of unease and uncertainty. But what makes The Suffering so terrifying, even today? One reason is the game's atmosphere. The creepy asylum setting and atmospheric sound design creates a sense of tension and fear. The game's use of multiple personalities adds to the uncertainty, making it impossible to know what's real and what's just a product of the protagonist's imagination. The game's enemies, which are based on the protagonist's multiple personalities, are a major part of its terror. Their unpredictability and aggression make them a formidable foe, and the game's use of close-quarters combat adds to the fear factor. The game's story, which explores themes of trauma, guilt, and redemption, is also deeply unsettling. The multiple endings adds to the replay value, and the game's themes are both haunting and thought-provoking. Even today, The Suffering remains a terrifying experience that will leave you feeling uneasy. Its creepy atmosphere, tense gameplay, and supernatural elements make it a must-play for fans of survival horror.
Rumor, hay un extranjero entre nosotros.
Nuestro jefe se cuidará de la rata. Si la plaga es mucho mejor que la nuestra.
Tienes razón, es un hombre.
Resident Evil 4, released in 2005, revolutionized the survival horror genre with its over-the-shoulder camera system and intense action sequences. But what makes Resident Evil 4 so terrifying, even today? One reason is the game's villains. The Garnados, with their cult-like behavior and unnerving appearance, are a far cry from the traditional zombies of earlier Resident Evil games. Their intelligence and aggression make them a formidable foe, and the game's use of close-quarters combat adds to the tension. The game's atmosphere is also noteworthy. The rural Spanish setting, complete with its isolated villages and creepy environments, creates a sense of unease and vulnerability. The game's use of sound design, from the creaking of wooden doors to the unsettling sounds of the Garnados, adds to the tension. Leon S. Kennedy's journey to rescue the president's daughter is a thrilling ride, full of intense action sequences and heart-pumping moments. The game's storyline is engaging, with a complex web of characters and plot twists that keep you guessing. Even today, Resident Evil 4 remains a classic of the survival horror genre, with its perfect blend of action, horror, and adventure. Its influence can be seen in many modern horror games, and it continues to be a must-play experience for fans of the genre.
Resident Evil 4.
Maya?
Why?
Fatal Frame 2, a survival horror game released in 2003, is a chilling experience that still haunts players today. The game drops you into the shoes of Mayu and her sister-in-law, Mio, as they wander a fog-shrouded village steeped in a tragic folk ritual. From the get-go, the atmosphere feels like stepping into a living ghost story, rain-slick streets, lanterns flickering in the wind, and that unmistakable sense that you're being watched. But what makes Fatal Frame 2 terrifying, even today? Firstly, the camera. The camera obscura is your only weapon, but it's also a double-edged sword. You have to time your shots perfectly, a mist flash leaves you blind, and the static that follows feels like the spirits are screaming right into your ears. That constant tension between seeing and being seen is a fear that never gets old. Secondly, folklore. Instead of a single mansion, the whole village is a character. The Kashima ritual, the Shinagawa legend, these aren't just background flavor, they ground the horror in a cultural mythos that feels authentic and unsettling. You're not just fighting generic ghosts, you're confronting centuries-old grief. Thirdly, the twin bond. Mayu and Mio's relationship is the emotional core. Their grief, guilt, and longing bleed into the lens, causing the camera to glitch when emotions run high. It turns every snapshot into a raw confession, making the horror deeply personal. So, Fatal Frame 2 terrifies today because it marries claustrophobic atmosphere, culturally rich folklore, an emotionally charged twin narrative, and a mechanic that turns every flash into a psychological showdown. It's a timeless cocktail of dread that still resonates, proof that good horror never ages. Silent Hill 2, released in 2001, is still widely regarded as one of the scariest games of all time. As a survival horror classic, it masterfully crafts a sense of unease and dread that keeps players on edge. But what makes Silent Hill 2 so terrifying, even today? One reason is its atmospheric tension. The game's use of fog, darkness, and eerie sound design creates a sense of uncertainty, making it impossible to know what's lurking around the corner. The Otherworld, Silent Hill's twisted alternate reality, is particularly unsettling, with its rusty industrial landscape and unexplained phenomena. Another reason is the game's storytelling and characters. Jane Sunderland's journey through Silent Hill is a deeply personal and emotional one, exploring themes of grief, guilt, and trauma. The game's characters, particularly the enigmatic Maria and the haunting Pyramid Head, are complex and multi-layered, adding depth to the narrative. The game's monsters are also a key factor in its terror. Unlike traditional zombies or jump scares, Silent Hill 2's creatures are often symbolic and psychologically motivated, making them more unsettling and memorable. The nurses, with their disturbing appearance and unsettling movements, are a prime example. Even today, Silent Hill 2 remains a masterclass in horror game design. Its slow-burning tension, atmospheric sound design, and thought-provoking narrative make it a must-play experience for horror fans. So, if you haven't already, step into the fog-shrouded streets of Silent Hill and experience the terror for yourself. But be warned, Silent Hill 2 is not just a game, it's an experience that will linger with you long after the credits roll. Its exploration of the human psyche, coupled with its expertly crafted atmosphere, makes it a truly unforgettable experience. So, are you ready to face the horrors of Silent Hill 2? Kuon, a survival horror game released in 2004, is a dark and foreboding experience that will leave you shivering in fear. The game's use of Gothic architecture and supernatural elements creates a sense of unease and dread. But what makes Kuon so terrifying, even today? First off, Kuon isn't just another scary game, it's a piece of early 2000s horror that leans heavily on Japanese folklore and the dread that comes from the unknown. The title itself, Kuon, translates to eternity, or silence, and that's exactly the vibe the developers wanted, a lingering, oppressive silence that never really lets you breathe. What makes it terrifying, even by modern standards, is the way it builds atmosphere without relying on cheap jump scares. The game throws you into a series of eerie, dimly lit rooms and corridors that feel like they belong to an abandoned temple. The sound design is a masterclass, distant chanting, the faint rustle of paper, and the constant low hum that seems to vibrate through the floorboards. You can't help but feel like something is watching you, even when the screen is black. Another key element is the storytelling. Kuon doesn't spoon-feed you exposition, instead, it drops clues through cryptic diary entries, fragmented conversations, and unsettling visions. You're left piecing together a fragmented myth about a cursed village and a vengeful spirit, which makes the fear feel personal. The less you understand, the more your imagination fills in the blanks, and that's where true terror lives. The occasional glitch-like effect, where textures flicker or characters momentarily distort, adds a layer of psychological unease that modern games still try to replicate. Finally, the pacing is relentless. There's no safe zone to catch your breath. As you progress, the encounters become more frequent, the puzzles get tougher, and the ambient dread ratchets up. Even after you finish the game, the lingering questions about what you actually saw stay with you, turning the experience into a memory that's hard to shake. So, in a nutshell, Kuon terrifies because it's a masterclass in subtle horror, atmospheric sound, cryptic narrative, unsettling visuals, and a pacing that never lets you relax. Those ingredients are timeless, which is why the game still feels unsettling today. If you're into horror that creeps under your skin rather than just jumps out at you, give Kuon a spin, just make sure the lights are on.